Stephen, would you like to make your way forward? Now, the other thing that we will do at the conclusion of this seminar is all of these speakers, their websites and their contacts will be on the AOMC website. So if you do want to have further discussions with them, the details will be there. Stephen, Edge Machining, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Graham must be a very good salesman
No
to get
way.
me here. I'm Steve Fleming from Dookie. There, my wife and I run Edge Machining,
Steve,
where we
yes.
A bit closer to your mouth, dude.
where we recondition vintage engines of all shapes and sizes and a bit of general engineering. So I have a table on display down the back there with a bit of evolution of bearings, some of our work and samples. So the white metal bearings, we use a tin-based white metal, which is predominantly tin and with a bit of copper and antimony in it. So the item to be white metal is heated, tinned with a tinning powder, and while the tin is still molten on the rod, we pour the white metal onto it at a temperature of about 400 degrees, where it bonds to that surface, and then machined to size afterwards. So there's also some valve blanks down there. They're from the States, which are stainless steel and a bit hard to find out here, so you can make valves up to suit pretty much most things. A fair range of sizes covered there. And I think that's about all I've got to say. You hit me with some questions. Have a look what's on the table down there, and I'll be around to answer anything else otherwise. So.
Any questions for Steve?
Yes, I've got one. Yep. Can you still do the white metal? And I'm not really up with it, but I've got a block that ruined the rear main in a Model A motor. Can you still hand repair that? The only damage is where the rear main sat. The cap completely disintegrated and chopped everything else out, but only in the rear where the rear main is. Can you still repair that without, does it have to be line bored, or do they still scrape them with a scraper?
Yeah, no, your main bearings in that situation, I imagine a lot would have to be remetal and line bored, yeah. So most of the white metal bearings are, whether they're poured straight in the block or onto bronze back shells, say, and we normally all line bore them in the block every time, because with a lot of engines have been played with in the past, and your tunnel sizes can be all over the place otherwise, that sort of thing.
So in the past, the real past, did they line bore those motors, or
Yes.
were they scraped by hand?
No, line board they would
They were all line bored, even in the 30s.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, from year dot basically, I would say, yeah. So you had originally a lot of heavy brass shells and metal straight into blocks. Then later on they went to thinner walled shells, still white metal. Down the back there's an alloy conrod that's been white metal, probably with that now with machined bronze shells to fit it and white metal line those. And yeah, the conrods are white metal and bored in a rod borer as well, yeah.
In my ignorance, can you tell me if you can straighten a rod that's twisted?
Normally, depending on how twisted it is, but yeah, we line conrods when we do the bearings, yeah. And if it's twisted for a start, we'll line it first and then metal and bore it, yeah.
Thank you.
More questions?
Come on,
Yes.
who has scraped a fairing in their
Do you
life?
do conversions, you know, like to change things to replaceable bearings or?
Shells have done some conversions. A lot of early engines are tricky because they have a thrust face of white metal on the conrod, and you can't buy shells with thrust faces to do that, but there are some ways around it. And quite often it's tricky finding shells that will fit. The old white metal was early on quite thick, so your shell thickness is not thick enough to make all that up there. Yeah.
Stephen, what's the trickiest or most challenging job you've done?
Most parts, Cadillac V16 Lots of bits and pieces. There's some forked rods down there out of a V8 Cadillac there. Oh, time consuming, but tricky, but yeah. That is a problem with white metalling. There's a fair bit of work in it by the time you clean everything and pour it and then machine it and press it and that sort of thing. All takes time. Yes?
Originally, the bearing metal or the white metal of choice was Hall's metal. Is that still available, or is there a better substitute now?
Don't know of the Hall's metal. There are a few different brands. We use a diesel quality metal on basically everything, which is a bit tougher. And yeah, over the time there would be hundreds of different recipes for white metal. Some were lead based, but mainly the tin based is the better one. Yeah. Yep.
Do you find with the white metal stages, do you have to do much in the way of metallurgy? Do you come up with your own metal recipes that you add your own elements to it before you pour, or are you buying a block off the shelf?
Buy the metal in ingots
Yeah.
off the shelf. There's a sample down there at the bench too if you want to have a look at that. Yeah. Reasonably expensive, 50 something a kilo.
Yeah.
Or more, yeah. Someone else? No.
Thanks, guys. Can I have an acknowledgement for Stephen, please? All the way from Dookie, so he had an early start this morning, and I don't think it would have been warm up your way this morning.